Marriage is God's will for most of us. Look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7. Verse 7 says, "For I would that all men were even as I myself. But every man hath his own proper gift of God. One after this manner," what's that? Being single as Paul. "And another after that." What's that? Being married. And the context tells you that in verse 8 and 9. "I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it's good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it's better to marry than to burn." Wow. Paul says that it's a good thing if you could remain as him. Now listen to me carefully. He wasn't saying it's a good thing that we all be single, because hey, if we're all single, the whole human race ceases to exist in one generation. It's not God's will that we all be single. And he wasn't saying it's God's will for us to be single. He said, I will that you be even as I. But it takes a proper gift to be as I. He wasn't saying being single only. Listen, he was saying being single and not having to wrestle with your sexuality. Amen? Hey, women? Hey, anybody? He wasn't saying just being single. He's saying, I would that you would be as I, single, and I have this gift of celibacy. I have this gift that I don't wrestle now with lust and my sexuality and temptation. There are people that are called to be single, but with that calling comes a gift, a proper gift, and they don't have to wrestle now with their sexuality. And Paul goes on to say that, hey, if you're wrestling with your sexuality, get married. We'll deal with that here in a minute because it didn't light a fire. Bottom line is 99.9% of us are called to be married, and yet we enter the most important decision of our life, second only to our decision to make Jesus Christ Lord of our life, unprepared. Unprepared. I can't tell you that over 50%, easily over 50% of all of my training for my children, well over 50% of all my discipline, all my talks with them is to prepare them for the marriage altar, to get them ready for God's will in their life, and God's will for their life is marriage. And we as parents need to get them ready to enter this covenant of marriage. I didn't just discipline my boys and it ended with discipline and error in their life. Constantly I would tell them, look, it's time to step up. It's time to be a man. It's time to put foolishness away. Soon, son, you're going to be a husband and have authority over your home. And you don't want to be an abusive husband and abuse people with authority. So you can't be living in this foolishness forever. You're going to be a dad one day and you're going to have to raise children, a godly seed. So put this stuff away from you and let's get this right, because you have to get prepared for this institution called marriage. I can't tell how many conversations I've had over the years with my daughters, with dealing with them about how they respond to my authority. Because how a daughter responds to the father, she can deceive herself if she wants to, but how she responds to her father is how she's going to respond to her husband. And so I taught my daughters constantly that, look, if you have an attitude toward me here, I can deal with that. Let's work it out. Let's walk it out. But we got to deal with that, because one day you're going to have a husband and he's going to be an authority in your life, and you can't respond to him like you're responding to me right now. Thank you for that thunderous applause. Most of us have never heard a father train and teach and prepare us to be a father, or a father or a mother teaching and training us to be a wife or to be a mother. And yet, think about it. This is the most important decision you'll make, second only to Jesus, and we're unprepared at large. So one of the reasons for marriage is to fulfill God's will for your life. And so I want to prepare my kids, and I want to help prepare your kids for this thing called marriage, because it's the will of God for their life.